I think the only reason is to turn national security law to be kind of de facto speech crime, to silence voice of the writers.
On the 4th of July, 3 days after the national security law came into effect, 9 books written by activist Joshua Wong, former lawmaker Tanya Chan, and scholar Horace Chin were removed from the shelves of public libraries in Hong Kong. The move started a debate, with some accusing the government of censoring books and undermining the freedom of publication and expression. Joshua Wong has been a political activist for 10 years. He has written I Am Not a Kid and I Am Not a Hero. Both books were taken down from public libraries in Hong Kong.
In the books, I mentioned power to the peoples and how the government should receive the mandates from voters. And I think that's just the general idea. And practically speaking, even President Xi emphasized the terms of democracy. So I have no idea why it might be kind of violating the national security law.
The Leisure and Cultural Services Department manages public libraries here. In an email, an information officer explains that the public libraries have reviewed 66 cases of materials in the past 3 years. 15 books have since been removed from the shelves, but they have yet to give us the list of the publication. They said the library must comply with sets of standards, namely the Public Library Manifesto of the United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization, laws in Hong Kong, including the Basic Law and the newly implemented National Security Law. According to UNESCO, the aims of a public library are related to information, literacy, education, and culture. It stated that collections and services should not be subject to any form of ideological and political censorship, and that the material must reflect current trends and the evolution of society. In Hong Kong, the Control of Obscene and Indecent Article Ordinance states that any person who publishes any obscene article, for which includes violence, depravity, and repulsiveness, is liable to a fine and imprisonment. And under the national security law, acts of secession, sedition, or terrorism can result in severe punishment, and suspects may be subject to trial in the mainland. So, what does it mean? Albert Ho used to be a legislator. As a lawyer, he has been dealing with human rights cases in the pan-democratic camp for years. He said the national security law is so vague that lawyers have no way of knowing how it might be used to charge writers and publishers.
The publication of books as a form of expression, and then the objective is to advocate the overthrowing of a government. Now, suppose this is not so serious, it's not so well organized as to create a likelihood, a real danger of, causing the country to be subverted. I'm not sure whether one would be caught by this offense. But as regard the other, I say sedition, there are common law principles. There must be real and present danger, and that it must incite violence. But in the NSL, violence is not a necessary element. So one can be easily caught just by merely advocating a certain objective. Then no matter how serious it is, one may still be caught.
Joshua Wong believes it is self-censorship by the authorities.
If these 2 books really have some of the sensitive contents, at least it might be reported by pro-Beijing newspaper already. But even until this stage, none of the pro-Beijing online media or printed newspaper have disclosed any content that violate the red line. So I think it is not really the direct order from the national security agent. It might just be the self-censorship for the Hong Kong's public library.
The national security law came into effect on 1st of July 2020. On the 6th of July, the Hong Kong Public Opinion Research Institution conducted a poll. The appraisal of publication freedom has reached a record low since the handover in 1997. Mr. Wong started an Instagram account in May last year, right before the anti-extradition law protest in Hong Kong. Most of his cartoons are about things that happen around him. Some of them are critical of the government. He doesn't want to reveal his identity because he says his art doesn't only belong to him, but all other Hong Kong people who find it relatable.
去年5月嗰陣時開始畫嘅，其實都係關乎一啲生活上面、時事上面好瑣碎嘅事啊，譬如三隧分流啊、丁權問題啊等等呢類型嘅題目。
He used to be a visual art teacher at a local secondary school, but he was sacked by his school at the end of June last year.
學校就用呢個資金不足為由嚟唔續我約啦。咁但係我亦都有曾經 offer 過俾學校可以半職啊，又或者我出半價嘅人工啊。咁結果就 reject 咗我呢個建議嘅。但係好可惜咧，就係喺 reject 我呢個嘅 offer 嘅當晚咧，學校就喺招聘網站度刊登咗一份視覺藝術同埋通識科嘅職位啦。
He is preparing for his upcoming cartoon collection book that is going to be published in late November this year.
假如讓我畫下去，其實基本上就係過去我嗰一年喺唔同渠道發布嘅一啲作品集結成書啦。咁當中有冇考慮過有冇啲作品係唔出版得嘅呢？絕對有考量過，因為過去嗰一年就實施咗國安法、國歌法或者侮辱國旗呢啲罪行，咁所以喺做呢本書嗰陣時會更加小心呢啲嘅題材會唔會觸犯法例嘅。首先國旗國歌我就真係喺國安法之後我就少畫咗好多㗎啦。國安法之前我會將中國國旗會有啲唔同嘅演繹啦，國歌都可能有啲唔同嘅演繹啦，但係國安法之後就冇咁做。
即係其實嗰個啲印刷商咧，其實都唔會睇得好仔細嘅。老實講，點樣
？Raymond Young is the founder of Hillway Press, which has published a number of political books since the protests in 2019. He invited Mr. Wong to publish a collection of his drawings.
呢個反而我覺得 OK 嘅，因為個 tear gas 就比較 subtle 啲咯，即係冇講啲咩特別嘢啊，係咪？即係冇批評過警方啊咁樣。咁但係反而係啲政治 symbol 出事咯，即係嗱呢個即係民主女神像，即係太過同嗰個抗爭有嗰個關聯喺度，即係一睇就知道講抗爭啦點啊。咁同埋啲旗就算你冇寫字都好，大家都即係一定係知道佢本身寫緊啲咩嘛。
Hillway Press published To Freedom this year. It is a collection of essays on people's experience during the anti-extradition bill protest. Among them, medical workers, journalists, social workers, and protesters.
支持我出版一個最大嘅難度係真係因為國安法咯。咁其實本書本身預計咗其實係已經係7月頭嗰陣會出嘅。咁但係當時我哋 plan 嗰陣就冇諗過話會有國安法啦。去到大概5月尾6月頭嘅時候，咁就即係吹風啦，就講話有國安法。咁嗰陣所有印刷商都好驚嘅，即係會驚話如果我哋再印呢啲咁嘅抗爭書，或者同一啲可能國家安全有關係嘅書籍嘅話，咁佢哋會唔會犯法？咁所以我哋前後就 total 係有俾7間嘅即係唔同嘅印刷商去拒絕咗印刷呢本書。啲班條咪咯，佢都未寄。我 check 咗順豐嗰個即係 app 咧，佢就顯示有啲咩人寄俾你噶嘛。咁其實都幾沮喪啊！嗰陣即係好似已經冇晒出路可以令到呢本書出到版。咁最尾都真係好好彩揾到嗰個印刷商係願意幫我哋手咯。咁但係都係用個非常之低調嘅方式去印刷嘅。
They paid cash to printers, and the printing would be done at night so that it is not obvious that staff at the press was working on the book. The printing, binding, and cutting were done by separate companies in order to avoid attracting any attention. Slogans that were deemed sensitive were either removed or replaced with more subtle wording. Any ideas that might be considered seditious or suggestive of separatism were also removed.
咁本身佢係話佢講話要將反極權嘅情緒帶到世界各地，原句係將呢個 anti-CCP 嘅情緒帶到世界各地。咁但係我哋而家好似有啲對號入座咁啦，就將佢變咗做極權咁咯。CCP 就係、咁，但係係咯，即係自己議會啦，係啦，即係所謂嘅反極權究竟反緊邊一個嘅政權咧？咁就唯有就係靠嗰啲讀者自己去揣摩啦。即係睇呢句係，那我們也不用妄想重建香港了。咁其實即係如果大家熟啲抗爭者嘅話，其實好少有人會咁樣講嘢㗎嘛。即係咩叫重建香港咧？咁其實本身個字係光復香港咯。 咁所以我哋就有啲字眼我哋又唔想成句刪嘅話，咁就唯有改咗啲係好似同類意思啦，但係其實冇咗本身嗰個即係抗爭意義嘅一啲字眼咯。
呢個圖係想話係將89年嘅6·4時候嘅情景同埋而家今時今日嘅情景咧，大家係互相呼應嘅，做一個今次呢個展覽嘅主題。
Junji Wong Ki-kwan has been drawing political cartoons for almost 40 years. His work appears every day in Mingpao. He thinks political cartoons are a reflection of society.
政治漫畫喺社會嘅作用，其實係一個指標嘅作用嚟嘅。即係其實當然啦，你唔會唔能夠話政治漫畫就唯一嘅指標啦，而係佢係其中一個指標啦，就係同其他傳媒嘅自由度、開放度係一個相同嘅。咁啊，當然政治漫畫咧就比較明顯啲、突顯啲，因為佢係一個圖像式咧，咁啊仍然即係比起文字嗰啲更加係明顯，更加係搶眼啊！咁所以就係好多時嗰啲政府咧，就如果係想壓制自由嗰陣時咧，漫畫可能咧係排喺比較前邊嘅位置嗰度。去到一個新嘅地方啦，或者係一個新嘅城市啦、新嘅國家，咁我睇佢個新聞自由度有幾大啦。咁好多時都係用呢個漫畫或者諷刺性嘅作品咧嚟做一個快速嘅檢查。即係漫畫嗰個自由度嗰個重要性，其實係我會係睇佢涵蓋得更加廣泛一啲嘅，就係喺中國嘅地方裏邊咧，就係唯一一個地方，即係佢管制之下嘅一個唯一一個地方咧，係能夠係自由係去發表佢意見啦。香港能夠有個地方能夠繼續係存在，其實係一個好重要嘅標誌嚟嘅。
究竟我係咪煽動緊人做啲咩呢？我有冇諷刺一啲咩呢？定係嗰樣嘢係唔應該涉及、唔應該去討論嘅呢？警察、特首呢啲嘅形象，可唔可以我嚟作為一啲諷刺嘅渠道呢？
你唔知道佢幾時係做啲咩情況，幾時會係覺得某一樣嘢咧係需要係禁制，所以話我哋最能夠做得到嘅就係話做翻我自己嘅嘢去做啦嚇。
I will continue my advocacy and not to be silenced by the authorities. But how will be the penalty, which is really uncertain.
有警察上門嗰陣時話我係拘捕我，或者係帶我上法庭嗰陣時先至重新去觀察嘅嘛。
只能夠係盡用每一下我哋而家有嘅空間去做到我哋應該要做嘅嘢咯，係。
Even the book might be censored in Hong Kong, but I can still let the voice of Hong Kong is being heard around the world.